Chapters 2 and 3 are the other chapters you're supposed to be going over while we're doing these speeches. So, what are some things? I'm just going to mark off Jeff's stuff over here and over here. I think he's maybe sick because he wasn't here yesterday or today. So I will probably check on him after this. But chapters 2 and 3. What are some things that you would have learned from these chapters? Ooh, ethics in public speaking. What did you learn about that?
Watch what you say. Like what's right and wrong.
Be honest. Believe what you say.
Is this the plagiarism one?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed what somebody said.
Be honest.
Be honest.
Believe in what you say. There's stuff about plagiarism in there too.
I think I heard that one too, but thank you. Do I get it? Plagiarism? My spell checkers?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so we have all of these things. What else did I miss?
Avoid abusive language.
Avoid abusive language. And it gives us examples of that, right?
Name calling.
Well, I can spell plagiarism, but today I can't spell anymore. Name calling?
Yeah.
So we have this problem at my house I was telling you about my kids. They're 9 years apart. And so sometimes my 14-year-old thinks that my 5-year-old should act a little bit older than he does. Because, you know, he thinks they're close to the same age. Not sure exactly how that works, but they have this name calling problem. They call each other names, and my older son likes to use profane words, and then my 5-year-old repeats them. This is really not good. So we have a 14-year-old who still sits in timeout. They do use other names that I try not to have a big fit about, like Dippy. When they call each other Dippy, I'm okay with that. Maybe it's bordering on name calling and abusive language, but I'd rather have them use the word Dippy than some of the other choices they could be making. Anybody agree with that?
Yes, because at some point at the end of the day, you have to pick your battles.
That's right, and with them, that one doesn't seem to bother me nearly as much as when my kindergartner is learning high school language that we probably shouldn't be sharing. Yes?
My brother's heard some words from my parents, and he uses them against me, and I have to tell my parents about it, and then he goes and screams more swear words at me for telling. And like when I'm playing some of my video games, it has language like that, and I'm like, no, you can't watch, and he goes and cries to my parents. And so I'm like, that's where he learns the words.
Yes, it's from those games that we let them play. If Talon is my older son, if he's playing video games, Tarek, my younger son, I don't let him be there unless it's like a racing game or something where they're not saying much of anything. That way I don't have to worry about
I don't
him
want to
learning
get my
those
room
curse
when
words.
I'm playing games like that.
Yeah.
At least you didn't grow up in an Irish family. The F-bomb was my first word I said.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Actually, I did grow up in an Irish family. But my mom is also a journalism major in college. So if you know anything about journalism, they're very picky about the words that they use because in writing for newspapers and magazines, you don't have very much space. So she's always very picky about the words that we use, and we were only allowed to use one cuss word growing up. If you said any other cuss word, your mouth got washed out with soap. But I grew up on a 350-cow dairy farm, so if you were outside, you were allowed to say shit. Because there was a lot of it. With 350 cows, there's a lot of that stuff. Well, my cousins came from the city, and they thought that was the best thing ever. My mom let them say one cuss word. And we're all Irish. But that was the one cuss word they were allowed to say, and they would go out in the barn and they would say chit 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 chit, because that was like their favorite thing. Now, when I'm talking about this, when I give speeches, do I say a lot of curse words?
No.
Nope. If I say any, that would probably be the only one I'll say. Because to me, it's the same thing as my mom used to tell us. If you have to use a curse word, it must be that you couldn't think of something more intelligent to say. I have practiced for a very long time, and if I need to make a complaint or reprimand someone or do something, I know it's not a great thing, but I can do it at least without using any curse words. Because I've thought through my message before I deliver it. When you're being an ethical speaker, you want to think through your message before you deliver it, right? Do you remember what I said the other day? Bless you. About colloquialisms? I know it was a big word, but you remember I used it the other day? Yes. And I talked about how one of my students said too many chiefs and not enough Indians. That's not good.
Too many what?
Chiefs, like tribal chiefs, and not enough Indians, the people who have to do the work. It's a term that we use around here that you might not be familiar with, but it's not good. It's not acceptable, especially in a presentation that you're giving to other people. Can you use it in conversation? Yeah, if your friends are okay with it, you probably can. But I definitely would not use it in a speech where you're in front of a group of people and you don't know what the audience is thinking. There are some even worse words in that book, aren't there?
They said a few really bad racist words.
They did, and I'm like, really? They put them in writing, but I'm not going to say them out loud. I have now, over time, figured out what all of them mean because I've never used them in my life, so it's taken a lot of time and effort to figure out what they are. Yes, times have changed, and the information that we share has changed in the way that we share it. Hey, did it say something in here about the use of he, she, speaking of times changing?
I don't think on this.
Didn't say anything about sexist language?
Oh, yes, it did.
Okay, so sexist language,
Like using the same sex, like fag or like that kind of words. Fag, lesbian.
well, actually, those are not sexist
Well,
language, but yes, you should not use derogatory terms like
That's what it
Those.
was talking
Well,
about.
if you're speaking in the UK, then you can say fag.
but then they're talking about something completely different when you're talking about a fag. And actually, if you know what a fag is, in the US, it is actually a bundle of sticks. If you look it up in the dictionary, that's what it is.
Gay means happy.
Gay means happy, which if you've ever been to a gay pride parade, they are really happy. It is the best parade I've ever been to in my whole life. In case you've never had that experience, you need to go sometime. It is like the happiest, most fun parade I have ever been to in my whole life.
They're really fun people.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, if you've never been to one, you gotta go. So gay must obviously mean happy. And fag means a bundle of sticks, and my son likes to say he'll get his swag on. And I said, you know what a swag is? He didn't like that. A swag is this thing that people hang on their door at Christmas time. It's a bunch of evergreen branches tied with a bow. I'm like, so if you're gonna run around wearing that, could you at least wear other clothes underneath? I don't think he likes when I correct his grammar, but he's learning. So sexist language, I'm not sure if they mention it in this group of chapters or in later chapters, but really what that is using he when talking about everyone, using she to talk about everyone. You need to keep it the same with the subject that you're talking about. So I had a nurse at the Mayo Clinic who had not passed his boards twice. He failed them twice. So they called him a nurse technician. And I'm not sure why he admitted it when I asked him, but that's what he told me. Did I need to tell you that it was a male nurse? No, How did you know?
Normally you assume nurses are female.
But what did I indicate that it was?
You said he.
I said he. So you should know that it's a guy, right? My sister is the construction manager for the Minnesota State Zoo. She works on putting together habitats for all of the animals on a regular basis. My sister is what?
Girl.
She's a girl. And she works in construction. She's a construction manager. Do people frequently think that construction managers are men?
Actually, that's more frequent because they don't do the more physical work. They tell people do the physical work.
She does both, by the way. That's just her nature. But let's not put people into certain categories. That's what sexist language is all about. And we might talk about it again in later chapters. But you want to say firefighter, not fireman, postal carrier or postal worker, not mailman. Try to avoid categorizing things into specific jobs or specific roles. Other things that we learned in chapters 2 and 3.
Avoid prejudging the speaker. Have an open mind.
What is that? Avoid prejudging the speaker. What does that mean?
Like, don't judge a book by its cover, basically. Like,
Don't judge a book by its cover. Okay, that's another slang thing. So explain to me, what exactly does that mean?
Don't judge someone by like their race or their appearance, their gender.
Yes. Can I give you an example? Over the weekend, my in-laws came to visit us in Laverne. My in-laws are kind of shabby looking people. They come right off the farm and that's what they look like. Okay, my father-in-law, it looks like this old character from TV called Grizzly Adams. He's got, you know, long shaggy hair and a beard. You guys have heard of Grizzly
Yes.
Adams? Okay, good. So, they aren't like the most clean-shaven people. They are quite redneckish. And they decided they wanted to go to the Chevy dealer in Laverne, Patrick Motors, and they were gonna look at a Corvette. My in-laws already own a Corvette. They also own a Mustang.
It's actually common for farmers to own high-end cars like that because a lot of farmers in Bell Rapids, where I live around, one has a Lamborghini, one has a Corvette, and one, they actually own cars like that because they have all the money to spend on it after their farming season.
Well, it depends on if they have a good farming season or a bad one, but we never had anything too expensive. My first car was a station wagon, Chevy Celebrity station wagon. With it 4-speed, by the way.
Well, heck,
I was high class, let me tell you.
heck, I actually
Okay,
took
so-
my driving
so
test
back to
out
my
on
in-laws.
Friends' cars.
They went into the Chevy dealer. They were looking at a white Corvette. They have a black one, but my mother-in-law would really like a white one. No one helped them.